Hey guys, a lot of you have been asking about our Bali trip, the prices, where to go, what to see. So we decided to do this video for everyone as an overview of how we spent a couple's week in Bali. Just as a disclaimer, this is how we spent our 7 days and explored some of the most interesting places in Bali. Depending on your preferences, you might want to skip some of these or add your own experiences. But for us, this was a pretty wholesome week. So let's get right into it. We spent 7 days and 6 nights in Bali. Our flight was pretty tiresome, so we chose to stay first in a place near the airport, which was in Kuta. Kuta is an area about 20-minute drive from the airport, and it's located on the southwest of the island. It is close to Seminyak, which is also a popular tourist place. Kuta is a relatively developed area with great beaches, local markets, and good hotels. We stayed in Swiss Belin in the heart of Kuta local market, which was a 5-minute walk to the beach. With easy access to SIM cards and money changers, this decision turned out to be one of the best ones.
So the next day we headed out at 6 a.m. on a day trip to Nusa Penida, a gorgeous island 30 minutes away from Sanur Beach by boat. Nusa Penida is where some of the best ocean-based scenery of Bali can be found. This includes the famous King Beach, the Broken Beach, and Angel's Billabong. Getting around in Nusa Penida isn't something you can do on your own easily, since there are a lot of broken roads right now. So we steered clear of renting a scooter there and went with a tour guide. Bali tour guides are a great way of exploring the island. They're kind, knowledgeable, and helpful, and most of all, they are very welcoming. Our guide for Nusa Penida was a local named Kedek, who grew up in Nusa Penida. Most tourists go with the tour guide here who have their own vans to themselves. This gives you flexibility on the things to see, places to visit, and most importantly, the songs to play during the journey. Once we reached the harbour in Nusa Penida, our guide picked us up and we started driving to Angel's Billabong. It's about 1.5 hours away from the harbour by car. Angel's Billabong is a pool of clear water between two huge rocky cliffs. The waves that reach here are intense and it's beautiful just to even watch.
Once you reach here, you can take a 5-minute hike to the Broken Beach. Confused by the name at first, we quickly found out that it's called the Broken Beach for a reason. It's not like a regular beach where you can lie down and relax to the sound of waves. Rather, it's an arch carved into the rocks that allows waves to come crashing into a small beach which is several feet below. However, you can stand at the edge of these cliffs and get a great view of how strong the ocean waves are. They have crystal clear water and have created this mesmerizing masterpiece. After grabbing some refreshments here, we headed out to King Beach, which was about 40 minutes drive away. The road in this path is particularly bad and our ride was a pretty bumpy one. But once we reached there, we saw one of the most iconic beaches in the world, where the rocks have eroded into a shape that resembles a dinosaur head. And right next to the neck of this head is a beautiful beach where you can go. It was a huge descent from the area accessible by cars, and since we were on a day's schedule, we decided not to go down it. But if you have more time in Nusa Penida, it might be worthwhile for you to climb down the dinosaur neck to spend a few hours on the white sand. However, going in the water is still not allowed here due to the strong ocean waves.
So after the King Beach, our next activity was snorkeling. The beautiful beaches at Nusa Penida gave us the opportunity to explore some great coral reefs and swim alongside some stunning marine life. The snorkeling trip included Gamat Bay, Bristol Beach, and the Nusa Penida harbour. And with this we wrapped up our day tour of Nusa Penida and headed back to the main island. We spent our leftover time walking around the Kuta area before calling it a day. The next day, we took a morning stroll along the Kuta beach and walked up to the Double Six beach in Seminyak. There were surfing classes going on, but we were short in time since we had to move on to our day tour. After we checked out from our hotel in Kuta, we headed out to Ubud. Ubud is an ideal place for spending your time in Bali since it's centrally located, has rich local culture, is home to amazing scenery, and is ideal for taking day trips to the beautiful areas in the north, east, and west of Bali. We planned a day trip where we hired a van for ourselves, put our luggage in the van, and stopped by some beautiful places before checking into our Riverhouse in Ubud. We got picked from our hotel at 8:30 a.m. and headed to see a Balinese dance. The dance is called the Barong and Kris dance and is a religious representation of the fight between good and evil. The entrance fee was around 50,000 Indonesian rupees, which is roughly around $3.5. After a great 1-hour performance, we headed out to see the Batuan Temple. Since Bali is a Hindu-majority island, you can see some great works of art in forms of temples almost everywhere you go. The entrance fee here was around 10,000 Indonesian rupees. In order to enter into any temple, you need to wrap a sarong around your waist in regards to respecting their beliefs. After seeing some great architecture here, we headed out to one of our favorite spots in Bali, the Tegunangan Waterfall.
This waterfall is absolutely amazing and one of the biggest we've seen in Bali. It's located in a lush jungle and falls into a shallow pool where you can bathe and absorb the cold mist produced by the falling water. It is also surrounded by some smaller and equally gorgeous waterfall along with some freshwater streams. Besides the waterfall, there are some local eateries and a swing where you can get pictures taken for about 100,000 IDR, roughly $7. Apart from the swing, there is a beautiful nest near the entrance where you can take pictures for free. The entrance fee for this area is around 20,000 Indonesian rupees, which is roughly around $3. To get to the waterfall, you must descend about 160 steps to reach the waterfall from where you parked. So going back up is a little tiring if you're easily exhausted. And finally, after the waterfall, we had lunch in an amazing restaurant 5 minutes away from Ubud center. This place had it all: mesmerizing views of rice fields, culture, traditional architecture, and most of all, great food. We sat on their traditional lunch table, and after stuffing ourselves here, we were dropped to, wait for it, our gorgeous Riverhouse. Now there is a lot that can be said about this Riverhouse, and we might do a separate video for it, but for now we're gonna keep it short. The Riverhouse is located close to Ubud and is reachable by car, although you might meet a very rugged patch at the end for 5 minutes ride. The place itself is almost like a hotel but without a kitchen and your usual room amenities like a minibar, TV, etc. However, you can order food in and spend your time here exceptionally well, since the whole point of us going there was to disconnect from the digital life into the sweet embrace of nature. The place has a wooden house down in the valley next to the river, while others are above next to the entire place. It's a little tiresome to get back up from the room, so we spent most of our day in the cottage. Since it's deep in the valley, it gets very dark outside after sundown, which makes for great mornings by the river. While here, we did not take much trips outside. Our first morning, we took their complimentary yoga class, which was amazing since we sat in the middle of the jungle, relaxed our brains, and stretched ourselves out. After yoga, we enjoyed their extraordinary pool, which looked over the lush greenery of the valley. After spending about an hour here, we had breakfast before heading out to our traditional Balinese cooking class. There are many Balinese cooking classes offered in all of Bali, all of which have great reviews. Ours was called Ubud Cooking Class, a 5-minute drive from our place. On the way, the driver also stopped by a rice field to give us an overview of how the rice is grown and harvested there.
The cooking class was managed by a local family who welcomed us warmly into their homes. We learned to make 10 traditional local foods, including their famous yellow sauce, peanut sauce, satayam, which is a little similar to our chicken seekh kebab except with coconut, and a yum Indonesian salad called gado-gado. They start by giving an overview of all the recipes, and then you can take part in each part of the process. You can learn to cut, grind, mix, fry, and cook in their way before being served all the dishes you make as a buffet. Overall, it cost us about 350,000 Indonesian rupees per person, which is about $26, but totally worth it. We were lucky since it rained the whole day that day, and our entire activity was conducted under a roof.
This wrapped up our second day of the Riverhouse, and the next day we checked out and moved to our next Airbnb cottage, 12-minute bike ride away from central Ubud. Upon reaching there, we rented a scooter for a day, costing us around 70,000 Indonesian rupees, roughly $5 a day, with fuel included. This was a smart move on our part since now we were able to drive to Ubud Center ourselves and check out their local markets. Their rich culture and handmade crafts light up their markets with color and with some very fascinating ornaments. You can find bags, sculptures, souvenirs, dream catchers, clothes, dresses, sarongs, jewelry, and much more. You can spend hours navigating your way through these local markets and still barely cover them all. The streets are filled with sounds of local musicians playing ukuleles and their traditional instruments as well.
The same day, we headed towards getting a wonderful Balinese massage at the rice fields. The views near this place were stunning, and the massage itself, having used traditional massage oils, was absolutely refreshing. Our Airbnb provided a free shuttle to and from Ubud Center, so before we knew it, we were back in the Ubud Center. Because it was after sundown, most of the market had wrapped up and nightlife could now be witnessed. In Ubud, there are some great places to hang out, but we decided to walk around and explore the areas we hadn't been. We dined at a local burger joint before retiring the day. The next day, the final full day we had in Bali, we had booked a tour to visit the amazing places to the east of Bali. Starting at 6 a.m., our first stop was Candidasa beach. This is one of the regular beaches, but our stop here was mostly because we were on our way to the famous temple of Lempuyang, Lahore, that is, the Lempuyang Temple. This temple is located on a mountain, a 2-hour drive from Ubud, and is home to one of the most Instagrammable spots in the world, the Gates of Heaven. Through these gates you can watch Mount Angan, but since this was way cloudy, we didn't get too clear of a view.
Nevertheless, the long dragon carvings on the railings and the architecture of this place had already put us in awe of it. The entry to this temple is only governed by a small donation, which is up to you. We were advised to donate about 10,000 Indonesian rupees per person, roughly around under $1. The queue for a picture with the Gates of Heaven is massive. It could take you about an hour, so it's a good idea to reach there early. Continuing on from the Lempuyang temple, we headed out to the Tirtaganga temple. This temple is known for its ponds where you can feed the fish and admire the beautiful landscape. Unfortunately for us, it started raining heavily shortly after we reached there, and we were forced to cut this temple visit short. A 1-hour drive later, we reached one of my all-time favorite spots in the world, the Tukad Cepung waterfall. This waterfall is particularly special since the water is falling inside a cave. It makes for a great scenery when the sun rays are piercing through the opening along with the waterfall. The entrance fee here is also 10,000 Indonesian rupees, and to get to this amazing waterfall you need to climb down a lot of steps. The cave is extended by a canyon-like structure where other smaller waterfalls can be enjoyed as well.
The last stop in this trip was Tegalalang rice terraces. This is also a valley where there are the most mesmerizing views of rice plantations on terraces. This is also a very famous spot for the infinite swing, the Bali swing, which is a little expensive to take a picture at. It costs around 150,000 Indonesian rupees for one person to enjoy the swing and 300,000 Indonesian rupees for two, which is about $21. There are also some local markets around this area where you can shop before finally returning back to Ubud. And this is where we marked the end of our trip in Ubud. At night, we did go to Ubud Center again for dinner, since the shuttle was free, but all in all, we had wrapped up our trip to Bali. The next morning, we had the famous floating breakfast, which is like regular breakfast, except you can swim around it. It was a completely unique experience, and the food as always was great. We enjoyed our meal and coffee before we finally packed for the airport. The ride back from Ubud to the airport cost us around 375,000 Indonesian rupees, which is $26.5, and it can take from 1 hour 20 minutes to up to 2 hours depending on the time of the day. So that sums up our trip of Bali. There are some places that we had to sacrifice visiting in order to fit everything in our schedule. For example, the Uluwatu Temple in the southwest, the morning sunrise trek at Mount Batur, which starts at 4 a.m., and several other waterfalls.
Other than our destinations, here are some of the few things you should know. Bathrooms are located next to almost every attraction, but some are paid. Usually 5,000 Indonesian rupees or $0.35 is the price for using them. There are fees for entrance to most, if not all, of the places, usually starting from 10,000 Indonesian rupees up to 40,000. Money changers are located in almost every market where the usual international currencies can be found. The local currency is called Indonesian rupiah, and probably most of you can tell by now, but you can easily become a millionaire in Bali, because for $100 you will get 1,500,000 Indonesian rupiah. The local cuisines are delicious. Most of the places we went to served halal food as well. an average lunch would cost us around 85,000 Indonesian rupiah, roughly $6 per person, whereas a fancy dinner could go up to 400,000 Indonesian rupiah, roughly $30 US. Weather. We checked the forecast before we left, and to our horror, it showed thunderstorms and rainfalls throughout the week. However, it rained heavily only on 2 occasions and slight drizzles on a couple of days. The weather condition can also differ depending on where you are in Bali. We booked most of our day trips before landing in Bali with Eddie, a local who runs a tour company called Bali Mate. His rates were reasonable, and he also went out of his way to save us high taxi costs at the airport by picking us up and dropping us to our first hotel. I would highly recommend checking out his Facebook page. And last but not the least, Bali is friendly for all types of groups. Whether you want to come with your kids, have a bachelor trip planned, or just have a solo escape to nature. We ran into several people belonging to all these categories because a Bali trip can accommodate everyone. That's it for our video. Let us know in the comments what you think. Did we miss anything out? And if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, let us know if you want us to do a video on the Riverhouse. It was amazing. Until then, see you next time.
Bye!